was always the Jags.
It's always the Jags. It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
It was always the Jags. It was always the Jags. It was always the Jags. Let's freaking go. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Welcome into Always the Jags, your number one podcast for everything Jacksonville, everything Jaguars, everything Duval. Last night, the Jaguars proved why you should stop counting us out. In case you can't tell, my voice is a little bit deeper than normal because I literally just woke up just so I could record this and drop this video because I stayed up until the end of the game to see the Jaguars drop the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending AFC champions, the kings of the AFC for, let's face it, the past 5 seasons. The Jaguars dropped them in the most dramatic, beautiful fashion ever. Now, so many people can say things like, dropping the Chiefs in the regular season isn't that. Plenty of good teams have beat the Chiefs in the regular season, yada, 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 whatever. It really only matters in the playoffs, yada, yada, whatever. I don't care. I do not care. Because the Jaguars showed that we are not to be messed with. The Jaguars showed that we are not to be pushed down, pushed around. We are not to be taken lightly. We're going to break down this game and go through all the ways that it was fantastic. And even when the refs tried to give the game back to the Chiefs, we wrestled it back. Not only from the Chiefs, but from the freaking refs themselves. From the freaking refs themselves. The Jacksonville Jaguars are so here, and we are here to stay. Okay? This game started off the way it started, with us getting a 3-and-out, and that was pretty bad. And then I think the Chiefs, I can't remember if they punted or if they scored on that next drive, but pretty soon it was 14-zip, and we hadn't done anything on offense. And it was starting to look like, dang, we might be out of our depth here. That's what I was thinking. Like, we had a great win against the 49ers, but maybe, we're not quite, ready to contend with these kind of teams yet, because it looked like the Chiefs were steamrolling, and everything for them seemed easy. And I remember thinking that, man, the way this offense is executing just seems so simple and so easy. Patrick Mahomes is getting whatever he wants. But then Trevor Lawrence decided, it's my turn. And they marched down the field and had a fantastic drive for a touchdown. Beautiful drive. And it's just 14-7. And again, the Jaguars look like they are driving down the field. And that Nick Bolton, it was after sorry, I got my times mixed up. So the Chiefs scored, and then we looked like we're about to score, right? And our offense is finally clicking. I think it was our third possession. And Nick Bolton causes the fumble at the 1-yard line. And Trevor was so close to getting the ball over. I'm not going to necessarily criticize him from going up. I think that was more of just a great play by Nick Bolton, who saw it coming. And again, the Chiefs' defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. You got Chris Jones up in there. And again, good teams can inflict their will and pick up a yard, right? But it's easier said than done when it's 1-yard line. It's just different. So anyway, we don't pick that up. And so then the Chiefs take it 97 yards for the score. And that was the point where it was demoralizing, right? It felt like, man, we're just not here. We're just not here. Maybe we aren't them. It felt like maybe this game is going to get out of hand. It felt like this game could get out of hand pretty quickly after that scoring play, after the Chiefs went all the way down the field. But then we showed that drive where we got all the way down to the 1-yard line wasn't a fluke, and we were able to go score, right? And then we were able to go, I think it was after the half, we forced a great 3-and-out, and then we were able to go score again, 14-14. Beautiful. But then the Chiefs had another crazy long drive, just burning clock, taking whatever they wanted. It looks like our defense was getting picked apart. And Devin freaking Lloyd. This 99-yard interception return for a touchdown. Devin Lloyd is firmly in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. If he wasn't before, oh my God, he is now. The way he read Patrick Mahomes' eyes perfectly, looked like he was about to blitz, dropped back, caught the interception that was supposed to go to Juju and ran it back for 99 yards. And the thing is, Devin Lloyd, watching him run, I'm not gonna say that he's not that fast because he's got good acceleration, but he doesn't have like really good long-term speed. And remember, he had just been on the field for this entire play. So like he was tired, and you could tell while he was running, the man was tired, but he focused, he ran out of a tackle. He knew because the last couple of times that he got interceptions, he was close to getting into the end zone and didn't get an offense, wasn't able to punch it in. He knew the only option here is to score, is to get the ball in the end zone and score. And he ran it down. He ran it all the way down. Josh Hines-Allen set up a beautiful screen behind him because it looked like Tyquan Thornton was going to be able to run up on him, and Josh Hines-Allen forced him to go out of bounds, so it didn't matter if he came back in. And Devin Lloyd, like I said, as gassed as he looked, he broke a tackle, held onto the ball all the way through the end zone, didn't start celebrating early like we've seen happen like 3 times last week, and he scored the touchdown. At that point, the stadium was electric, right? It was incredible. The Chiefs had to punt on their next possession. We got the ball back 21-14. If we were able to go down and score a touchdown, even a field goal would have felt good, but a touchdown would have really felt like we took control of this game and this is our game. You're in our house. I don't like to say it would have been over, but again, it would have been like, yeah, this is our night. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes, feeling a little butthurt, had to cry to the refs. And on an earlier play, I can't remember if it was when the Chiefs scored 7 or the Chiefs scored 14. A very obvious and illegal pick play that is offensive pass interference did not get called. No, it actually, let me rephrase that. It did get called, and it got picked up because Mahomes and Kelsey started screaming to the refs. Like, oh, didn't you cash our check? What you mean you're going to call that on us? We told you you got to call those plays for us. It was ridiculous. Even the sports, and again, I hate, blaming a team on the refs or anything like that. But even the sportscasters in the booth were like, oh, wow, that was offensive pass interference. And the thing was, it was 3rd down. So it's very important that gets called because that wipes away the touchdown. And it means that the Chiefs would have had to settle for 3 probably. Or if they don't get it on the 4th down, if they go for it, that's a point swing. That's a 7. That's at least, it could be a 4-point swing, potentially even a 7-point swing. You have to make that call. There was offensive pass interference. You can't do that. He knocked the Jaguars player out of the way from getting to the ball. But, whatever. But now here we are. The most egregious penalty of the night, and why Trevor looked so incredulous after that interception that, again, was not his fault. Half of the interceptions on Trevor Lawrence's resume right now just shouldn't be there. Like, we need another stat. I always say that quarterbacks need another stat for, like, deflections. When the ball hits a player, like if it hits one of your players first and then it's caught, it should be counted as a deflection, not an interception. Now, you can decide whether deflections are good or bad, so it can still be a stat, but it should be counted as a deflection. But either way, this interception is not even close to being Trevor's fault. Parker Washington is going on a slant route when he gets tackled before the ball is even in the air. And of course it lands in the Chiefs' hands because Parker Washington isn't there anymore. And Trevor Lawrence is looking around waiting for the flag. Of course there's no flag. This allows Mahomes and them to go up and score and tie the game 21-21. And that had to feel like, in a game where you were starting to beat a better team, to have the refs come in and help the better team, because on paper, the Chiefs are supposed to be the better team, right? On paper, right? They just came off a Super Bowl. We're coming off a 4-13 season. On paper, the Chiefs are the better team. And so to have a situation where we're about to potentially go take this game from a better team in our home stadium, to have the refs help you, I would argue that could be even more demoralizing, because it's like, well, what can you do? Even if we're playing well, it doesn't matter if we're not getting calls when people are doing illegal crap. Had to get on my soapbox there for a little bit. So the game keeps going. We get the ball back after the Chiefs, of course, score an easy touchdown because, they were right there at like the 15-yard line. And it's feeling like, dang, I said if we lose this game, I'm going to be pissed beyond belief, because that would have been 2 games that we lost because of ref calls. 2 games. I remember the Bengals game, we lost on a terrible terrible pass interference call on Travis Hunter, right? So I'm very annoyed. But anyway, the Chiefs score. We get the ball back. We're able to get down enough for that Cam Little can drill a field goal. And we take the lead again, 24-21. And I think that was a nice moment for Cam Little to help his confidence get back up after he missed a couple of big game field goals that didn't cost us the game, but definitely could have helped us win, a game. So for Cam Little to be able to hit those, I think was really good for him to, again, make his confidence a little bit higher. And remember, he's a good kicker because that was a booming kick. And it looked like he had some extra room on that. So, and then, of course, the Chiefs get the ball, and they're doing Patrick Mahomes things and driving down the field on this crazy, touchdown drive that makes the game 28-24. And you're starting to wonder, like on that last Isaiah Pacheco run or Kareem Hunt run, it's like, were they letting him score or what happened exactly there? Did the Jaguars let him score so that way they could see if Trevor Lawrence could go down and even this game? Here's all I have to say, right? This game, based upon the refs, really shouldn't have even been this close because those two calls that we didn't get were an 11, if not 14-point swing because that interception was pass interference. It should have been called. So the Chiefs wouldn't have gotten the ball right there and scored. Even if we had went down the field and at least punted, again, the Chiefs wouldn't have been able to go 15 yards for a score. Secondly, that other play on the goal line could have been a 3-point swing because that was defensive pass interference. So the refs gifted the Chiefs 11, if not 14 points. I'll say 11 because, you could have kicked the field goal because they were that close on the goal line. But the refs just handed them 11 points. So it shouldn't have even been this close. But I will say I'm glad it happened that way because this is what we needed to see from Trevor Lawrence. I'll repeat that again. This is what we needed to see from Trevor Lawrence. When everything is stacked against you, right? Where, first of all, we already overcame adversity by coming down from being down. But when bad calls happen, everything is stacked against you. The game is on the line, and the Chiefs, you have a superior team, or a seemingly superior team. The game is on the line. Everything is stacked against you. Can Trevor Lawrence be the prince that was promised? And the answer is yes, he freaking can. Yes, he freaking can. Yes, he freaking can. In our beautiful throwback jerseys with that classic Jaguar on the shoulder, Trevor Lawrence authors the craziest, coolest, and most chaotic touchdown drive that I feel like is emblematic of just Florida and Jacksonville and the Jaguars all together. But the main thing that you get from that drive is when you fall, you get back up. And that's what we kept seeing over and over on that last drive. That's going to go down as one of the most iconic drives of his career because whatever happens this season, this win for us is going to be huge. Absolutely huge. Because if we get down to the playoffs, if the Chiefs and us end up with a similar schedule of 10-7, because again, if the Chiefs, if they lose 4 more games, they're 2-3. If they lose 4 more games, they'll be 10-7. And if we get to 10-7, which is my prediction for the year, I think we'll even do better than that. If we're battling for a wild card spot, we now have the tiebreaker. If it gets down to it and the Chargers end up flaming out and it's a battle for the number 1 seed in the AFC, we have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. We could end up with the number. It's not too early. I don't want to count chickens before they hatch, obviously. But it's not too early to start talking about seeding and number 1 seeding because this kind of win would take the number 1 seed away from the Chiefs if they were going to get it. Now, obviously, the Bills are still rolling even though they just lost. But let's remember, who are the leaders in the AFC right now? Jags, Bills, Colts. We're all tied at 4-1. It's crazy. But anyway, game is on the line. Trevor Lawrence marches down the field on a bevy of just crazy. And at first, And again, it wasn't like it was easy. Like at first, the drive looked like it wasn't going to happen. He has a scramble for about 5 yards that, kind of looked a little wonky. And then he loses 2 yards on a scramble when he should have thrown the ball away. He had a chance to throw it away. He really wanted to do something, but taking a sack is the worst thing you can do. And, he's not fast enough to outrun these. He's not Lamar Jackson where you can just like squish through and get past these defensive tackles or defensive linemen of the Chiefs. So here he is marching down the field, and then he throws a beautiful over-the-shoulder pass to Brian Thomas Jr. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Right out of the hands of the Chief defender, and it lands perfectly in Brian Thomas Jr.'s hands. He remembers that he has hands that they can catch the ball really well, and he goes out of bounds to stop the clock. And then Trevor has another pinpoint pass to Dyami Brown to pick up another 13 yards in about maybe 3 seconds, and again stops the clock. And it's picture perfect. Like, this is the Trevor Lawrence that we wanted and need. This is the Trevor Lawrence that deserves to make $275 million, right? This is the $55 million a year quarterback. And then we get down to the field, and it's time to put the ball in the end zone because, we have to score because it's 28-24. And Trevor throws a beautiful pass to, he throws a shaky pass that was almost picked, almost a flag. There's a lot of contact by both there. Second play, Dyami Brown did a good job on a screen pass, taking it and having it not turn into nothing because you have to excuse me if I'm wheezing in between each one because I kind of lost my voice screaming at the TV last night, and I'm doing my best. But anyway, Trevor, he threw a screen pass to Dyami Brown, who broke 2 tackles just to pick up like 3 or 4 yards. But it almost was going to be a tackle for a loss. And so I thought we should run the ball there because, number one, the Chiefs weren't expecting it. And number 2, we had plenty of time. And number 3, it could have broken off and gotten us a good play. And then we could have decided, what to do from there. We didn't necessarily need to throw once we got that play to Dyami Brown where he ran out of bounds. But of course, and then Trevor Lawrence takes a maddening defensive delay of the game penalty, trying to get the Chiefs to draw offsides. And it's like little things like this. It's like once you clean those up, it's like there's no ceiling for Trevor Lawrence. It's just like, why are rookie mistakes still happening in year 5? Like, just get rid of them, and you will be in the upper echelon of quarterbacks. It's just that simple. But anyway, so, and then Trevor throws it's 3rd and 13. It's kind of like, I'm thinking we don't need to go for it all, right? But they do on 3rd and 13. I'm like, we can get closer to try to pick up the first down because it is 4-down territory, obviously. Trevor throws a pass, but Trevor saw something that, obviously we would have all made that throw because he sees Connor clearly committing pass interference on Brian Thomas Jr. and throws the ball. And that's what a lot of quarterbacks will do. Like, you might wonder why we see more pass interference plays is because when a quarterback sees that a guy is about to interfere with the receiver, as it has his back turned to the quarterback, and the receiver looks like he's open, they'll throw the ball there every time because the worst thing that's going to happen is going to be a pass interference call, right? So like when Trevor sees that Connor's back is to him and Brian Thomas Jr. is running, even if they're step for step and Brian Thomas Jr. is not technically open, if I throw the ball, Connor is going to see Brian Thomas Jr. If I throw the ball, Connor's going to see Brian Thomas Jr. leap for the ball. He's going to leap too. His back is turned. That's pass interference. And he literally was holding Brian Thomas Jr.'s arms down while he was trying to catch the ball, right? And so you could say over and over again, like, oh, we hate when games come down to a call. Really? This was textbook pass interference. And also the Jaguars deserved to get one after missing obvious calls that made this game way closer than it should have been. Obvious pass interference. We get the call. And then on 1st and goal, we have opportunities to punch it in, but like the most devastating thing that possibly could have happened because the right guard stepped on Trevor Lawrence's foot. Again, the second time it happened. And Trevor Lawrence stumbles to the ground. And then he tries to get back up and stumbles again. And I think at some point, what happened is like when Trevor stumbled, his initial reaction was to like protect the ball. But I think he realized and like why he like stumbled and got up again. Because I think he realized he wasn't touched. So he's like, oh, I'm not actually down. Because whenever you stumble, like the risk of a fumble is huge. And a fumble obviously would have been the worst possible thing to happen in that moment. So your instinct is automatically going to be, you got to protect the ball. But I think Trevor realized when he went down, like that's why he kind of stumbled again, that like, I was never touched. So then he gets back up, breaks a tackle, and runs it into the end zone. And again, if that's not emblematic of this entire game, our entire season, our entire city of being knocked down and getting back up and doing incredible things, I don't know what is. And Trevor Lawrence goes in and wins that game. So thank you, refs. Thank you, Chiefs, for giving Trevor Lawrence a chance to prove why he's the guy. Because I'm not saying this should have been a blowout, but it should not have been this close. We should not have needed a Trevor Lawrence game-winning drive. But we did, and we got it again. And Trevor had a lot of these in 2022 against the Cowboys, against the Ravens. A lot of come-from-behind wins. But you don't do that against the Chiefs. You're not supposed to do that against the Chiefs. This is showing why it's different, and this is showing why Liam Cohen's offense is different. Because, like, after this game, I'm watching it, and I'm like, who can't we beat? Who's on our schedule right now? After taking down the Chiefs, who's on our schedule right now that we can't beat? Now, sure, the Chiefs have 3 losses, right? But they lost to a Chargers team that just lost to the Giants and the Commanders. They lost to a Eagles team that's, potentially going to repeat in the Super Bowl, although they just lost to the Broncos. And they lost to us. So who can't we beat on our schedule? Who's on a schedule that we're looking at that and it's like, oh, no way. Right now, the Colts are the biggest threat to us, which is not something I thought I'd be saying at the beginning of the year. Let me know your thoughts on the Jaguars beating the Chiefs, Liam Cohen's offense, Devin Lloyd, Defensive Player of the Year, and whether we can keep this going against the Seahawks. And never, ever forget, it was always the Jags. Thank you so much for watching Always the Jags. Make sure you like and subscribe down below. Check out some of these other videos that I'm sure you'll be interested in as we chase Duval greatness. Thank you for joining us again, and until next time.